Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's a chess show on Pod TV. My name is Sasha Starr, and we have today our guests, starting with Professor Ken Regan. Welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you very much for having me on again.
Great
Welcome
to
to
have you.
my newly refreshed office with a clean whiteboard behind it.
Well done. And we have Jim Eat from Eat Foundation. Welcome to the show, Jim.
Thank you for having me, Sasha. Great to be here.
Okay, and we have also Dan. Welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
Okay, of course, Dan Fleetwood is a frequent visitor of our shows lately, and he's a grandmaster on chess correspondence. And let's see what we're going to look today. Ken, what you prepare for us?
Well, I'll share my screen and go through the motions here. So last week, I was able to show actually 4 games from chess24.com. So let me share the entire screen, and oops, here we go. And so I am going to go to chess24.com. This is our first piece of news. There we are, chess24.com. It forwards to chess.com. The chess24 website ceased operation yesterday. Regrettable by me. I like having variety, and I very much like the interface at chess24. But still, I have selected some games. The last round of the Tata Steel Masters on Sunday was quite a sensation. So, and the thing to note is that there were 5 players tied for first place entering that round. 2 were paired against each other. The other 3 all won their games to create a final 4-way tie for first place. So there was certainly fighting chess. The game that I'm going to show first is the defending champion Anish Giri's win over the second tail ender Max Warmerdam from his own country. But still in all, this was not a smooth demolition as might have been supposed from looking at the final position. It's actually a very nice tactical game. So actually, this is already rather singular. E3, one E3 is called Van Croy's opening. At least it seems to come from the Netherlands. So I guess you should call this the Van Croy's deferred. It's being labeled the Reti opening. What it actually becomes is the 1B3 opening by transposition. So this now is a more normal sequence than I could have imagined.
Yeah.
Still, you're basically playing the Queen's Indian defense with a tempo up. And that will especially be true if Black ventures C5, as Black eventually does in this game. So I liked playing this kind of position for White because my bishop on B2 is a nice diagonal. It is not going to be challenged. I always regarded it as tougher for the Black opponent to play for strong points on the dark squares, including fianchettoing the bishop on G7. So I, as White, playing Larsen's opening, were already fairly happy. The one good thing that Black has done is that Black has not placed a knight on C6 and has not even advanced C5 yet. So bishop B5 is not effective here for White. So, and actually what I would say is more the characteristic of the Reti strategy. White plays the pawn to C4. Instead, not the other way to conceive this position is to imagine that you'll eventually play a stonewall attack with knight E5 and then F4, maybe D4 support
Way I do it.
as well, and advances on the king side. But okay, White engages the center this way, and now especially also playing knight C3. This is not the other way that I play the Larsen, which would be playing D3 and knight to D2 later on after castling. So this is now really a queenside positional game, and Black does play C5. Okay, now I am told that Black's play comes in for criticism after this. Okay. And we come now to the one Philip that especially Alpha Zero has given. Although this particular attack was known even in some positions of the Queen's Gambit declined more than a decade ago. So Geary played G4. Okay, so
G4 pops up so much now.
yeah, it pops up so much now, selling out for an attack. And
Yeah,
it is,
and this may look crazy, but this gets played in grandmaster level correspondence too. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, this is completely unbalanced. It's great fun.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. And
When I was growing up, you would undoubtedly be criticized for a move like that, but nowadays it's so common.
yeah, and it is too dangerous for black to take the pawn, especially with no defenses on G7. So black just plays normal developing moves, and black decides to come in with the knight. And now here, I guess you need to know theory. I have to say that black's next move looks entirely aimless to me, although maybe the aim is to drop the bishop back to F8 for guarding the store.
Oh, yeah.
So chess.com's interface is very free with using engine evaluations and labeling move blunders. Maybe I can find a way to turn it off. Anyway, okay. So after this, and now after black's decision to take white's knight on c3, black is already in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and this maybe
Wow.
is where Geary played a very surprising move that
Now that I think about it, it makes sense. But yeah,
yes, let's see. So
I
if you,
wouldn't have done it.
the actual move
In blitz.
would be queen takes c3, but it runs headlong into d4.
Yeah.
And this may be also why the rook on e8 might have some latent purpose
To open the
hitting white's king. So maybe the reality here is that okay, c takes d4, and if you capture what goes wrong if you capture in the center here, yes, this is okay. So why is this not working out for white? I guess white is going to lose more pieces than black. Okay, so it's actually just not. You have to calculate these tactics here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's see. So
The knight can't get out. Yeah.
oh, that's right. So the point is that white's knight is trapped, and black just retreats, and black will be up a piece.
Yeah.
Okie doke. All right. So that's basic tactics. So whoops, trap. Okay. See again the I'm not used to the interface yet, so apology.
Not a problem. We'll get back to
my
position.
Okay, so we'll go back and scroll back up to the position that we had. So white, therefore, bishop takes c3 would doubtless also run into d4.
What would they want instead of knight takes knight? F5? That looks dangerous too.
Yeah, let's see. So instead of, well, let's see, I have the engine on. So it does say that white hasn't, that the rook e8 move was inferior enough. It wants black to play knight b4, but f5, yeah, you're right, f5 looks dangerous. Otherwise, well, the way black played was almost a pawn error according to the engine. Now let's see. Now, why does chess.com say that d takes c3 is bad? All right, how do you want white to recapture? You want white to capture? Oh no, the question mark was from black's move. Okay,
right.
So
that looks fine to me now that I wouldn't have occurred to me, but it looks fine now.
Yeah, we will probably the resulting increased use of this interface for demonstration will isolate bugs. Now, so the point here actually is that black center is white's going to castle queenside. The rook will be on the D line. Black center will come under attack. One of the themes of the rest of this game is will white's bishop on B2 be revived? As you'll see, it is at the very end of the game. Anyway, because this bishop is currently muzzled, black reasons incorrectly, according to the engine, that he can play strong point defense on the king side.
Yeah, that's kind of
and maybe get his bishop to f8. Maybe this was part of a grand plan. Bishop f8, g7. Well, let's see how that grand plan gets executed. So now h5,
Premature.
it's getting a query.
Yeah, I don't know. Question mark is I mean, it's the second best move. I don't know that deserves a question mark. This is chess.com being too talky.
Yeah. And maybe I can turn this display off. No.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay. So anyway,
Maybe
I would of course castle. I mean, look, putting that pressure on the d file.
Yeah, right. That seems more consistent, but
yeah. So now black plays a knight e5. I guess a shortcut way to get the bishop on the good diagonal. So there we are. Now black has the bishop on the nice diagonal, but there's still the case that white is better developed. White's bishop on f1 counts as developed. Black's bishop on c8 does not count as developed, given the nature of this position.
Okay.
So black, anyway, so this gets an exclam. I have no idea why.
It's the only move.
Maybe because it's the only move.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Yeah, you're right. It's a pawn better than any other move. Okay.
I will say it's box.
So I guess now white plays f4 and black plays e5. Boy, I would not be doing things like that.
Nope.
Developed, but anyway.
Who are we to say, right?
Yeah. What do you say? White is now going to play queen h2 at some point or threaten it.
Yeah.
Bishop d3, and this not only gets a question mark, it gets an X. Okay, so what does white's move is completely natural. Just take the free pawn on d5. Black will get a little counterplay with bishop g4, but well, I guess you have to calculate tactics with bishop b5. So again, yeah, this is actually a little annoying because black's rook would come down to e1. Okay.
Oh, yeah. True.
So, okay, so anyway, but c takes d5, and Stockfish has changed his mind anyway, too, about the value of the position. So anyway, so this not only gets a question mark, it gets an X and supposedly hands over the advantage to black after the same sequence of moves. But
an X, though, that's rough.
Yes, so
no one wants to get an X.
Good move. And now the engine's bishop g4 would have handed over the initiative to black. I mean, I guess this requires really concrete calculation because okay, but that's not what Varmerdam did. Varmerdam played queen c2. Natural move enough for me, attacking a pawn with check, but just not pedal to the metal here. White should have played c takes d5 on various moves, including here, and the gain on d5 outweighs the loss on the king side. Instead, Geary played a natural defending move. And now let's see. Okay, so this is just very weird annotation. Maybe I'll find a way to turn this engine off. Okay,
that's all right. You can deal with it. It's all right.
Yeah. So this is a good move by black, and then a double exclam move by white, but it should not be winning. That's what it means. So it is in fact judged to be white's only way to keep even. I don't know. Queen h2 looks all right to me, especially because black can't take on d3, because then I think c4 really does create. So this is interesting to look at as a sidelight.
Yeah.
And then then c4. Okay, the engine says it's only good enough for a draw, but
how about rook h1 here?
That's true. I have a rook h1. Yeah, now really threatening. Nope.
Whoops.
Sidestep, but now you are down a piece. So,
these messy tactical positions. I mean, that's in real time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this was of course slow chess, not fast chess. Anyway, white capture on g6. So I don't know if I didn't listen to the interviews after the game, so I don't know if Geary thought that he had a winning attack in this position. it is anyway certainly substantial. I don't. This is much more of a minefield for black than white, even if the engine can hold this to 00, and with multiple ways. So queen c6 or queen e7. The move queen c6 makes some obvious sense to me.
Sure.
I don't queen e. You have queen e7 connects the rook on e8. That's the other idea. Okay. All right, but anyway, black sidestepped with king f8. Now already, it's not 0-0 territory, which is significant. It means that the engine is not calculating that this position should settle down. Therefore, white has opportunities. Okay, f5, queen f7, an exclam move. White plays here. That's natural. You don't want to trade queens when you're a piece down. And this gets the queen out of the way of white's pawn roller. Nothing wrong with g8 and f6. I don't know. I'd be terrified if I were black in this position.
Me too.
Looks like rook h1 and mate is coming up. But the engine says only slight edge to white, and Varmadam found the right move. And white actually, with this, there's a kind of pin on f6. I mean, white could play f takes g7, but it would lead to an endgame where the worst is over for black, and that's an important thing. Once you get rid of the queens, and once you develop your bishop, pawns will be essentially equalized after black captures on g7. The absence of white's bishop on b2 is really being felt. There's no tactical crush in this position. So hence white played the queen out of the way to f4 to renew the threat of taking on g7 with an attack. And here, Varmadam went astray in the tactics. So bishop f5 was again the correct move.
Yeah, not
Just
clear
allow white
king f5's bad, but okay.
Yeah, but allowing white to regain the piece, you're a pawn down, you're still a little less developed. I don't know. This doesn't look. This position does not look okay. And in fact, Stockfish decides later on that, after looking a little deeper, that it is actually a significant advantage to white. So it's possible that really objectively black is just in trouble here, and that the Stockfish we're looking at only a depth 19. That's not even near the depth that I use in my scripted analysis. So this is probably it's weak settings of the Stockfish engine. So we shouldn't pay it therefore too much heed. Anyway, this is certainly a mistake, and now black can't bring the bishop out to f5. Now black doesn't have any checks or threats, so this is really a problem. And from this point on, Geary finishes the game very neatly, including rook f4. Okay, so we're gonna prevent black from escaping with the king on the f file while regrouping for threats on the h file. And queen e6 was the decisive mistake. Queen g6. I don't think queen g6 really holds on. I think this type of position, and maybe you don't even have to play bishop a3 here.
It doesn't seem to have much.
Yeah, the deeper we look, the higher white's advantage is going. Yeah, straightforward queen h4 or even just king b1. You can take time for that.
Yeah.
Get the king out. This is just a static. Black is going to black is going to lose.
Yeah.
So at this point, now Geary finishes with a very nice little combination here, and supposedly his 31st move, what I read was only move to win. This is from actually Dennis Monocrusos, the chess mind. But so white plays rook takes f7 check. It's not the only move to win, but it's a snappy combination. Having played that, now indeed g6 is the only move to win.
Yeah,
That's a good find.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a while in there too. Yeah.
Yeah. So we need to. Why doesn't queen h6 check king g8 rook h1? Black can just play king g7 and queen g7 and defend. So okay, so g6, and then after white plays rook e3, the very pretty final move of this game.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
So this is now, and then queen h7 check is going to win black's queen. So um, and mate soon to follow. So anyway, so very nice attacking game by white, and a normal human attacking game where I think even though the engine evaluation changes, if you look deeper, I think most of the way um, white was in command, except for the interval where maybe black with exact defense can draw.
Yeah,
But
the
it's harder to
BG4
think.
idea. Yeah. BG4 and BH5 maybe could have held and prevented the attack from the storm from coming in. But even the final execution there, that was very impressive.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, demonstrating the latent power of the B2 bishop.
yeah. That's
Basically,
right. That's right. Just at the very end. It's well, he wasn't even technically a factor. I'm forgetting
Right.
why I thought I remembered it. So it was actually not even a factor at the very end. It was just an ornament.
Yeah.
A big pawn.
Yeah. So this sent the games into a tiebreak, and so.
And there's no
And the tie breaks had a very surprising result. The surprising result that an old prodigy, Wei Yi. Now, Wei Yi, if I remember correctly, is considered the author of one of the most brilliant games of chess as white 10 years ago when he was 14. And if I didn't think to call it up via Google. He's now 24, and as shown, he's sub 2,700. So he hasn't set the world on fire, but suddenly he becomes the winner of Tata Steel.
Yeah.
And he did so by scoring. He wound up. He did so by scoring 4.5 out of his last 5. Now let's see, 8.5, 4.5 was the score. So he went from an even score to +4 in the last 5 games of the tournament. So he was faced against Gukesh, who defeated Giri in a closely contested final where Giri originally went ahead. But anyway, let's look at the game that clinched the tournament for Wei Yi, because this is a game where white, to use a British horse racing term, white keeps his nose in front the entire game. Now, important to note. Oh wait, no, this was part of the normal. So this was 3 minute with 2 second increment, normal speed chess. So, okay, so this is ready opening done with the more usual order of moves for white. So otherwise, similar variation to what we were doing.
He doesn't want
White's
knight
doing the king bishop. So here we go. White is set up.
So Ken, I like Black Knight on D7 here. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I usually would play it with D7 and play the C forward. Yes. So,
I mean, I'm not criticizing Gukesh. He's obviously, 2,700. So he may have just been trying to get an original position and mix it up.
Right. It anyway, Wei Yi judged that he had time to fianchetto the bishop after all. So this is now a double fianchetto out of the Reti sequence of moves. And okay, so black tries to relieve his position by exchanges, and the exchanges happen. So this usually, to my mind, I would, playing white, I would feel that a fair bit of my mojo was taken away with having to cede these exchanges.
That's exactly how I would feel.
I would be terrified about my white squares around my king.
Yeah, but well, we'll see. There's knight c3. This is a nice active move. Black shores up the center. Engine says 0.00, but here we go. Wei Yi starts trying to lay out, and what we have actually we have the pawn structure of a minority attack and the queen's gambit.
Right.
Let's see how close the dynamics go. Now here, Gukesh decides to listen to you and try to take advantage of the light squares around White's king. Here we go, h5. This prompts h3, and now bishop f5. Okay, well, again, engine says slight edge, or really equal, but black is on the being on the negative side of the 0.00 does have some significance. Okay,
It's hard
so
for me to see why. Okay.
it means that you're below the stratus of continuations that lead to 0.00.
I understand, but I just disagree with the evaluation. I like black.
Well, no, black. It does say black is slightly ahead. In fact,
Oh, okay. Okay.
in
Sorry.
fact, it's saying that black should have planted a juicy bishop on d3 and enjoyed it then a definite slight advantage. So this is really funny. White is playing the minority attack, but without having a majority of his pieces taking part. So this is a true minority attack. So anyway, black decides to dissolve the center right away, but this also dissolves a lot of his advantage. Okay, so now the minority attack has actually succeeded brilliantly. Black has a weak pawn on c6. It's well, white's pawn should be on d4, but never mind. Black's pawn on c6 is weaker than white's pawn on d2, and here we go. We put more pressure on it, and now decide to say, "Hey, I'm going to take over. Either you solve my own pawn structure problem and leave you with that weak pawn, or you've got to give me some space in the center." Now, actually, black can just play rook fd8, and that's, to me, it seems to me an entirely sensible move. Maybe he calculated that it would lose a pawn. I don't know why black withdrew the queen, but this seems to be, from this point on, when I was watching the game, that I felt white had a leg in front.
Well, and I guess sometimes even if you're over 2,700 in a speed game, it's like, well, maybe if I threaten something, it'll do a good thing.
Yeah. So, yeah, he threatened something, and here's the attack. So I'd have to say black is making a minority attack on the king side. Earlier in the game, white's pieces weren't able to come to the defense so easily, so you could judge black as doing something. But here, this is just a feint, and white is actually able to just snap black's pawn and say, okay, what's happening? My h pawn is actually going to be useful. I'm going to push it to h5 and h6. So this actually is something that can be judged as losing a pawn for black if black does not have any concrete follow-up. And well,
I've got to say though, in most positions, that capture is just generally doesn't work out too well. So you've got to give Wei Yi a lot of credit for even considering that in kind of like a really quick. That's really strong intuition in this position.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point, Dan.
And the Achilles heel for black here is simply that he can't take on d2 because bishop takes c6. So, so black shores up. I mean, black's position looks maximalized in some sense. White just defends, and now white here is latently attacking.
Very difficult for me to figure out.
Yeah, but now, okay. So now at this point, I was fairly confident that Wei Yi was actually going to win because white is up a pawn, h5, h6 is coming. Black has as many weaknesses as white does. I mean, black does have pawns f7 and g7 that help each other, but otherwise, the pawn islands are pretty much the same. White's rook on g5 is the most active piece on the board. And so king f8, rook f5. Okay, now a little bit of skirmish happens here.
Now I like white.
Yeah. There's a very nice move for white upcoming, if my memory serves here. That yeah, rook d3. So this is now keeping it together, and white is up a pawn, and black has to worry about at some point losing a pawn on c6 or d5. So black played knight
Or
d.
A7. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, it was here. Yeah, it was right here that I thought black was under a lot of pressure, and would and that black does not have anything to do. Um, so now both players, as if the clock on the left is correct, and I think it is, both players were down under 30 seconds at this point.
Wow.
So it's
Yeah,
also,
with like I think what wasn't this played with like 2 second increments?
yeah, 2 second increments. So so now black plays knight d5. So the issue here is that black doesn't have any real scope to. Black's rooks can't go anywhere and make threats. I mean, rook e1 doesn't make any threat. E2 is covered. Black's rook on f6, maybe can't really go to f4 because it has to guard c6. I mean, you can calculate that. Maybe it works, but in any event, black felt Zugzwanged enough.
Yeah, that's very surprising. Okay.
Yeah. So it's now you're definitely down a pawn. Okay, maybe you'll get counterplay on the king side from open squares, but after g3, really not. And now black is going to shed another pawn in short order. So at this point, rook f3 check and rook e5 was a strong attack, because the rook e5 pins black's knight to e8 and makes rook takes d4 get answered by bishop takes g6, winning material. So white did not have to guard the pawn, but even so, this gets an X from the engine, but white still has a completely comfortable advantage.
I never used to get X's.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know. I guess technically speaking, this is said to. So what could black have done? Rook h8, I guess, is counterplay. Okay, you're right. Rook h8 is counterplay, and white can't guard the pawn on h8. So king e3 is just a blunder. But black also playing on close to increments.
No time to think. Yep.
No time to think. And now the final part of this game has been praised as Wei coming up with lots of tricks. That's what the commentators said at the moment. Okay, so going back to f6 is a mistake. Black should play c5. Yes, c5 is a chance for liberation here, and then black would only be a pawn down. So okay, so h4 is a mistake. Well, we won't really pay attention to mistakes here. The players are moving instantaneously. Actually, black shed the pawn. Brief attempt at counterplay doesn't work. And then the finish is bishop e7. One more trick. So anyway, I guess in blitz this counts as a smooth win. And as I said, white definitely had a static advantage for the entire second half of the game. And I say that even knowing that black did have the one chance to break out and get real counterplay with rook,
right.
with rook a8. So h8.
That was just a messy game, from my standpoint. Not that it meant, I mean that it was poorly played. It was just very difficult. The positions were very different. There's so many ways to go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but what had advantage most of the games? I remember that Grandmaster Bariev 10 years ago exactly told me that Wei Yi will become one of the top players in the world, but he thought that it would happen sooner, and it could happen sooner if he would continue to play in international tournaments and so on. But there are some personal reasons and COVID and I don't know what else that prevented him from playing. But it's a great talent, and the way how he controls the game in his favor most of the time, it's quite an achievement. Yeah.
And it's a great tournament, and I just wanted to point out that Tata Steel, Vikenzi, we used to have Linares and other great tournaments, but this one's still as strong as it ever was. It seems to me, and,
Yeah.
and it's a treat to be able to watch a tournament like.
And,
Is it
and
by
with-
now oldest traditional chess tournament in the
I think
world?
so, unless you count Hastings, in its various incarnations.
Yeah, that's true.
But Hastings isn't getting this type of talent now.
Right. That's right. So this is amazing. Yeah. I talking about what's changed after COVID. We still have the Reykjavik Open that's bounced back, but Gibraltar seems not to, and that's unfortunate.
That is unfortunate.
The Gibraltar tournament is always
that's
fun.
a good point. Yeah, that was a great tournament too.
Yeah. On the other hand, there was a really massive size tournament at Florianopolis in Brazil, Floripa Open, won by Arjen Terry from Norway. Won his first 9 games.
What's confusing to me now is who gets to be a candidate because of this result and all of that kind of stuff. And even online now, there's a candidates kind of tournament going on now. I think Nakamura finished 3rd in it, and so Carlsen and Nakamura are playing online, and they're not playing in these types of events. And I'm not sure what's going on and who's getting more eyeballs, which is more popular.
That's a good question. But you reminded me of one piece of absolutely momentous news that I have not seen on chess Twitter. In round 10 of the Title Tuesday, early or late on Tuesday, Magnus Carlsen played Hans Niemann. They drew. So any of you heard that? So they actually faced each other over the board.
They just played an actual game, got through it, life continued much as we know it.
Yeah.
The Earth
That's a very good thing.
That's right. And there is a strikingly beautiful game that I saw on Twitter, circulated by Tarjay Svensson. And I didn't get tired of the meetings to try to find it on chess.com. I don't know what tournament it came from, but
do you know the story behind Chess 24?
No, I don't know the origin story.
No. I mean, you said it was going dark.
Well, yeah. So Chess 24 was acquired by chess.com as part of the deal with Magnus Carlsen's possessions, or maybe a side part of that.
Yeah.
And it looked like they were going to shutter it right away, but they kept it open for another year. In any event, understandably, Chess24 didn't want to invest. Chess.com didn't want to invest resources in keeping what was originally a competing site open.
Correct. They just wanted to transition those users on Chess24 to Chess.com and then shut it down. Probably.
Yeah. So we shall get used to the new interface. But meanwhile, let me find. Maybe one of you can identify what competition this was. Here it is. So let me share my screen again, because this one position is worth looking at. Okay, so sharing my screen, and it's always multiple. Here we go. So I'll share just the tab. So this is a beautiful game by Svidler. It is the Champions Chess Tour, Chessable Masters. If I'd hovered over the link, I would have seen it. Okay, so I probably can find this, but it's funny. Black has played Rookie 1, and your first impression might be, wow, White's knight is pinned to the king. This is a classic checkmate, back rank checkmate on the king. But wait, that's not White's king, that's White's queen. And the point here is, if queen takes e1, then black has queen takes d4, king d3, and then knight not knight a4. I'll say, I don't know.
Queen d4, mate.
Yeah. King,
no, sorry.
The White's queen is covering both e4 and a5. So it takes a little more than that. But
right.
But in any event, and if White takes with the knight, then black can take white's queen. White actually played queen d3, and black's follow-up was knight b4. Again, giving an imaginary check to the queen, so I could call this
Yeah.
the queen game.
That's
When
awesome.
I click this link, I do get the game. Okay, so for some reason, I was not getting things. So actually, now you're probably not seeing the game because I only did a tab. So let me come out. So it's worth, I'll share this tab instead. There we go. Okay, so I can play this through. For some reason, it wasn't working before on my phone when I was looking for what this is. So this is Champions Chess Tour. So Vienna game, Steinitz transposing into a Steinitz-like King's Gambit.
Yeah.
So nice old-fashioned chess. But
Yahoo.
knight takes d5 does not have the seal of approval.
Right.
And already black is set up to roar back and attack white. So this is my favorite cricket fan, Peter Spidler,
Yes.
playing black. So here we go. Steinitz king to the rescue, maybe unpinning. Now the brilliant move, rook e1.
Oh my God, we're in the 19th century.
Yes,
This is awesome.
yes, and knight b4.
Yeah. Yeah. Where are the gold pieces?
Yeah,
Shower the board.
yeah, that's right.
That is fabulous.
Yeah, this is definitely swashbuckling chess. White gets a rook, but cedes his queens. This actually quiesces now.
Whoa.
Bishop e4 check, another nice move. Yeah, this is also nice. It
Yeah.
quiesces here. Black has a queen for rook and bishop. White the pawns are even, but more white pawns will drop. So this is winning for black. It takes a while,
Yeah.
but it's worth showing it to the end because black now queen e5 squelches white's play, and black is able to advance on the king side.
Whoa. Yeah.
So
we guarantee that queen or bet is better than a bishop and rook. So
yeah,
it's just a matter of time.
yeah, two queens are even better than a bishop or rook. And here white gave up because it's going to be checkmate.
Very good point. Yes.
So pretty game there. Okay.
Yeah. Outstanding stuff.
Fantastic. Fantastic.
So there's online that is a candidate cycle,
Mhm.
and there's over the board candidate cycle. So forgive me for being confused. I don't know what to follow and when anymore. Seems to me it's and I don't know whether to follow the online stuff first and the over the board stuff second. It's and then they throw in the correspondence.
Correspondence has
Apparently
nothing to
it's
do with anything.
online
That's
until the candidates start at the beginning of
I
April.
did that for you, Dan. But I think the World Championship cycle, as we used to know it, has greatly changed. And do you think the online pressure has had any influence over that?
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, it's democratized in some sense. There are no longer these interzonal tournaments. The zonals are qualifications into the World Cup, I think. But they did change the regulations just last week to eliminate the rating spot or change the rating spot to a 6-month average instead of getting on the final list. And I think they gave the main other change that surprised some people was no longer seeding the loser of the championship match to the candidates.
Yeah, that is counter-traditional. That's a phrase I could
counter recent traditional. I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of oscillates back and forth.
Yeah, it used to give a dethroned champion a rematch.
Yeah.
I guess a dethroned challenger, a failing challenger, just has to try again from the beginning, I guess is the logic.
Yeah, that's pretty rough.
Yeah.
Well, remember that in tennis, the champion is not seeded at all. I mean, he's seeded, but he has to start from the round one.
And golf, too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's probably being like that. So it might be.
So maybe that's the future where we are going. And Jim, answering your question, what to follow, I think there is 2 points. One, that World Championship is losing its allure simply because the world champions, the real world champion, Magnus, is not there.
Yeah.
However, the candidates tournament it's still a very strong draw. I think it's more interesting than the World Championship without Carlsen. Now, on the other hand, the online, has Carlsen
Right.
and has absolutely all top grandmasters without exception. So that's obviously has all points to follow.
I think
So
that's
then
what Carlson's
follow
betting
everything.
on, is that people are following the strongest player in the world. And I know I am always interested in when Carlson plays, and to some extent other players, but obviously I want to see the strongest player in action. And I want him to be playing over the board, of course, but he's playing online now, so that's where you can see him play.
Yeah.
And also, don't forget that in old times, in 50, 60 years ago, there were top grandmasters, were personalities as well.
Yeah.
Not only they were great players, they were great personalities, and people could feel that some people would affiliate with Smyslov or Keres or Bronstein and Reshevsky and Bobby Fischer then.
Or
Uh,
Kasparov. Yeah.
then we go, of course, into almost recent history of Karpov, Kasparov, and so on. Anand, which is now part of history, more or less.
Yeah.
Now, all today's top players, they're distinguished mostly by their rating, because if you look at their personalities, their chess styles, they're all playing the same openings, they're playing all the same lines. If you follow the games and you don't know who are the players, that could be just as well Giri, it could be also Nepomniachtchi, or it could be maybe Veslitsov, or could be, they don't have styles. Maybe it's not their fault. Maybe there are no longer styles in chess. It's all computerized game. They're all training 18 hours a day with the computer programs in there, and eventually they all follow computers and they're playing lines of computers. That's why there's no individuality in chess anymore as a style is concerned. And
Yeah.
as a personality, well, I mean, they're maybe not so interesting personalities after all.
Well, that
Even,
was one of my favorite Karpov quotes, which was either real or apocryphal. But allegedly, when he was asked about his style, his response was style. I have no style.
Mm.
So,
yeah, and I
so
think
I think
he's the first
people are
one.
more and more adopting a universal style.
Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah, they're playing
It's a great
all
point.
positions, whether it's a very tactical position or positional game. Yeah, they don't care. They play all positions and all openings and all lines. But with that, you're losing your chess personality, but that's maybe not so bad after all.
Yeah.
As long as they
And
can,
I always said that with Karpov, if it was an isolated queen pawn, I didn't look at the position. I just looked at which side Karpov was playing. And then that would tell me who was winning.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
That's a
Yeah.
perfectly fair opinion.
Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for today's program, and I'm looking forward to see you next week, same place, same time. Bye bye, everybody.
Okay.
All right,
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye bye.